Welcome to our Wednesday morning webinar this morning. We're on Facebook Live here, we're on Instagram Live there. We want to say good morning to you on Wednesday. I've been swimming this morning down at Cottesloe, got a little stung this morning by some jellyfish, but I wanted to be with you guys today because today we're going to talk about stopping leaving all that money on the table. Stop losing revenue opportunities, whether you're a startup business, whether you're a medium, a large business. We see time and time again, and in fact, we've got data here we want to share with you this morning on billions and trillions of dollars are being left on the table every day in business. So guys, if you've been to my LinkedIn page, you'll have seen the article I put up on Monday morning, or if you get our newsletter. And by the way, if you want to get our newsletter, I'm going to put the link below to get hold of our newsletter, because every week we put out a newsletter helping people in business learn more, be empowered, take action. But this particular webinar we're talking about this morning is so important because it's about everybody leaving money on the table. You say, how do I know I'm leaving money on the table? Well, I can tell you, if you're a chief executive, you're a business owner, if you're a managing director, there's a couple of things. One, there's two key areas I want to talk about. One is implementation. A worldwide study by the Project Management Institute had shown that there's millions of dollars every 20 seconds being lost due to poor implementation. But on the other side of it, a worldwide study by the Accenture group showed that for every dollar that was invested in properly designed and implemented training and coaching, there was a $4.53 return. In other words, there was a 353% return on investment when you do training and coaching correctly. So you want to invest a dollar, get $4.53 back. Make sure you're investing in good training. Now, training where there's a transfer, often, in fact, people say there's trillions of dollars wasted every year on badly implemented training. But let's talk about that a little later on. The other side of it is, as a business owner, managing director, have you ever hoped for an outcome or heard something good and it just didn't happen? Like this morning, literally, I was watching the news, and back in about June, July, the Australian government promised to the entertainment industry $250 million, a $250 million rescue package. Guy Sebastian was there talking about this fantastic rescue package. It was going to be so good for the entertainment industry. Ernst & Young have just done a study showing that last year the entertainment industry had something like $35 billion. This year, it's down around 12 to 13 billion. Massive drop off due to COVID. The Australian government said, well, look, we'll do the right thing, and we'll invest, and we'll put $250 million in, a lot of razzmatazz, Guy Sebastian at the Sydney Entertainment Centre or the Opera House, and Guy Sebastian rings them up a couple of months later and says, what's happening? You know, there's no money. And so what we've found is only 20% of that $250 million has actually gone to the people. In fact, the bulk of it's gone to the film industry. So arts, concerts, musicians, no one's got a cent. In other words, hot air, bad implementation. So that's on a macro scale. But what about in your business where you've had an idea, you wanted to get something happening in terms of innovation and growth, great promise, bad implementation. So when we put these factors together, well, the Project Management Institute of the World did a pulse study on implementation. And what they found was $1 million every 20 seconds is being wasted and lost, money on the table. That's $2 trillion, 2T, capital T, $2 trillion every year is wasted on poor implementation of strategy. No matter how good the strategy is, to get from A to B, to grow the business, to win that customer, to improve the skills, to buy some new equipment, to particularly put in new software. I mean, you know, we see this time and time again where people invest in new software and then never really get the benefits, particularly of CRMs. I mean, Salesforce have done plenty of research on this, but the study concluded These factors, that is bad implementation, are leading to colossal financial losses for businesses, small, medium, and large, right around the world, because there's all this possibility that's not happening because of bad implementation. And of course, then you talk about broader macroeconomic impacts on communities, on states, on countries. So, one, get good at implementation. Now, how do you do that? Well, one, you get good coaching, you get good training. Now, one of the areas we specialize in, besides business growth, moving up the ladder of business evolution, because again, we're in the business of empowerment, giving you the knowledge and the power, but power means moving into action. Velocity is distance over time. What speed are we traveling at? Power is how fast are we accelerating? So what we're doing with the Business Accelerator program is giving you power to turbocharge moving up that ladder, more customers, scaling the business. I mean, it was interesting this week. I was talking with a past client. We did some work with about three years ago, but again, we keep in touch with our clients. And he's gone, Leigh, I'm frustrated because, we did that great work 3 years ago. But what happened was, basically it's a whole new team now, because the thing is, if you've got a 10, 15% turnover of staff, 3 years later, over half the team are new people that have not been exposed to the training you did 3 years ago, which again is why you want to be having repetition. How do you build it into your culture on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, where you're exposing people and reminding people? And again, this is where the forgetful curve kicks in. People, it drops off within 24, 48 hours. As I said to the client, mate, if you teach them something on a Monday, don't expect them to remember it on a Friday. And even if they remember it, have they actually implemented it? I said, let's take, for example, the difference. You do one golf lesson, that's interesting. But if you want to actually improve your golf, you need to do regular lessons, and then you need to do practice in between the lessons. And then we talk about deliberate practice. You just don't go out and hit a bucket of balls. So then when it comes to implementation, what training have you given your people in implementation? That is project management implementation. And of course, the area we want to focus on as well, business growth implementation. But what about sales training? What training? We know 80, 90% of salespeople have had little or no training. Of course, the big companies, I was talking to a guy the other day, pharmaceutical companies in the old days, IBM, certainly Apple, the training that they do with their people in terms of customer service, product knowledge, being friendly, upsell, cross-sell, it's all there, asking the right questions. So the other side of it is the American Association of Training and Development did a study. According to 59% of companies, the top barrier to delivering effective sales training is reps not being held accountable for applying the skills they've learned. In other words, the reps haven't done the reps. There's no accountability. So the knowledge is only part of it. It's then the implementation of that knowledge that you want to be working on. Then again, that's what we specialize in at Everyday Empowerment Institute, is the implementation. We call it accountability coaching. It's really empowerment coaching because it's embedding and implementation. 59%, almost 60% of companies say the number one problem with getting a return on investment for sales training is lack of ongoing accountability and coaching. Yet we know, as the Accenture study said, for every dollar you invest in sales training that is well implemented, you get $4.53 return. So that means for every $100, you get $453. For every 1,000, you get 4,500. For every 10,000, you get 45,000. For every 100,000, you get almost $500,000. I mean, invest in well-structured sales training, which is what we do. We've won actually 3 LearnX awards over the years for how we go about, LearnX being Australasian awards for training and development, because what we do is not just deliver great training in a workshop situation, but it's the implementation of that and the embedding of that. Let's take another look at this stat. The third stat I want to talk to you about was 26% 26%, almost 30%, but certainly a quarter of reps, sales reps say the sales training they get is ineffective. Why is that? Because it's not customized, it's not tailored, it hasn't engaged them in the design, hasn't engaged them in the conversation, it's not relevant to their real-time clients and case studies. Again, we can show you other data that one of the key things that determines return on investment for sales training is real-time coaching of reps on deals they're about to go and deal with. And again, that's a set of skills, because this manager the other day, he said, I've worked out that just because I'm a good salesperson doesn't make me a great sales trainer or coach, which is often the case, because the great salesperson often is working on the unconscious competence. That is, they're not even aware of what they're doing that makes them good. Whereas what we've done is we've deconstructed the whole sales process so that we talk about end to end. And we don't just talk about selling, because we say, this is another part of the article we talk about, people hate being manipulated. Zig Ziglar and Tommy Hopkins, great in their time, but in those days you could do 35 different closes, and you could close. You could sell ice to Eskimos. Well, what's that really saying? It's saying an Eskimo lives in ice, but you're going to sell them ice that they don't need. In other words, you are going to manipulate them. You're going to convince them. Convince them. People hate that. People hate that manipulation. In fact, as we say, people can smell manipulation and hard closing in 2020 from 100 paces. Because the intent of the seller is, I want to get my commission check, and I don't really care if I've left you with a product or service that doesn't work, whether it be a pen, whether it be some glasses, whether it be, no. What we are committed to at Everyday Empowerment Institute is ethical exchange. Ethical exchange where the buyer is way better off, that you are not selling at the expense of the buyer. You're actually having an ethical exchange conversation, a consultative selling conversation where the buyer is getting way more value in return compared to the money they outlay. An ethical exchange conversation. Now, who has had training in those ethical exchange conversations? That's what we say. We teach professional problem solving. This is professional, non-manipulative, consultative, ethical exchange. Professional problem solving, non-manipulative, consultative, ethical exchange conversations. People hate to be sold, but they do love to buy. People hate to be sold, but they do love their problems being solved. People hate to be sold, but they do love someone helping them make their life better, make their life better. People hate to be sold, but they do love getting way more value than the money they exchange for your product or service. So you need to have a system in place, and then you need to train people in how to have those conversations. So you are delivering value, but you're also having a monetary exchange. So you're not just giving it away, but then the question is, how do you give it away? Well, we say one of the tools we talk about in our system is lead with insight, lead with some information that can actually help people. So we're in the business of empowering people, not only with the skills, but the thinking and the ethics of professional exchange, where the client gets far more value from your product or service than the monetary cost of the product or service. This is what we teach. Very few people teach this. Very few people teach this. Most of them are teaching the old style, closing. Sure, strategic questioning is important, but often strategic questioning can be done with the goal of tricking or manipulating or being pushy. That's not what we're into. And of course, the other side of it is, so very well teaching this, you have to then implement and practice. And that's what we do in terms of true empowerment, real empowerment of clients. So it's a win-win situation, not only win-win, but win elevate, so that the buyer is elevated to a higher level of performance, a higher level of business, a higher level of prosperity, a higher level of life and lifestyle. We want to leave the buyer way better off as a result of having done business with you. That's what we teach. That's what we implement. And of course, what we've got is what we call a 14-step implementation process where we work through that quite systematically. Now, if you want to find out more about that, then touch base, take advantage of our 10-second quiz that we have, which gives you an insight into where are the areas you can improve productivity? Where are the areas you can improve revenue? Where are the areas you can improve average transaction value? So if the average transaction value is 200, how do we get that to 250 or 300? How do we improve the quality of our communication with our prospects, with our clients? And that's where we talk about the quality and the quantity of those ethical exchange consultative conversations, mapping that process, getting a playbook in place to have so that you are having way better value conversations with your customers and prospects than the competition. The competition is still looking at old style, 10 different ways to close. And of course, these days, millennials are not interested in that. They want to have a professional approach, not an old style pots and pans, bash down the door. So you want to find out more, do our 10-second quiz. We call it the 10-second more sales, more productivity, more growth quiz. The link will be below here. And by the way, it's important for you to know who your ideal client is. Who are the people you want to have those conversations with? In our case, the companies we want to have conversations with are firstly, that you have potential for growth and innovation. I mean, if you're already flat out and you don't want to grow and there's no potential to grow, don't touch base. But if you feel you have potential for growth and innovation, click the link, let's talk. The second thing is you've got to be willing and committed to grow and innovate. I mean, if you're not willing to do something, then let's not talk. It's like saying, yeah, I'd like to improve my golf, but I don't want to do lessons. I'd like to learn the guitar, but I don't really want to pick up a guitar and practice. Well, it's not going to work. But it's fun. We want to make it fun, and we do make it fun. A lot of people hit a block here. Are you willing to invest in yourself to make it happen? Are you willing to buy a book? Are you willing to sit down and read the book? Are you willing to listen to a podcast? Are you willing to actually have a conversation with a coach, to be open, transparent, to go, this is where we're at right now. This is where I want to get to. This is where we see some of the blockages. How do I get around those blockages? What experience have you got in the 300 different companies you've worked with? Who else has had this problem, and how did you help them get around it? As I said, 35 years, my business partner and I have been working with over 330 different companies from like 35 or more different industries. Again, by the way, you want to click the link below and check out the background, and there's like 35 or more video testimonials from a whole range of different industries. There's proof that what we do works. The training, but also the implementation. The final point, so got potential for growth, you're willing and committed to make the journey, you're willing to invest in yourself, and you've got to have a leadership team who are willing to work in partnership. If the leadership team say, well, we don't need to do anything different, we're already fantastic, then don't call. But if you have a leadership team that want to work in partnership to grow, change, get more revenue, scale the business, reach more customers, get out into the world and expand, then let's get together and let's have an ethical exchange conversation. Either way, when we do it, the 10-second quiz, and have a conversation with you, one, we help you solve problems. We give you insight and learnings that in itself is incredible value. People say, wow, that really was worth spending 30, 40 minutes on a Zoom call with you guys. But start with the 10-second quiz and say, look, business is just another set of skills, like golf, like learning the guitar. Get a coach. Get a coach, get a coach. Anyone that's any good at anything, be it guitar, whether it be surfing, whether it be sales, whether it be singing, whether it be public speaking, they have learned from someone else. They've had a master, they've had a mentor that has accelerated their progress. So take the 10-second quiz, because as we say, nothing changes until you change. Nothing changes until you pick up the phone or until you tap the click button. Otherwise, everything stays the same. And if you're not happy with the way things are going, if you're frustrated, then doing nothing different is not going to change anything. So folks, take advantage of the link below and use our empowerment systems, embed our empowerment systems. As we say, you work the system and the system will work for you. So what have I said today? Implementation. If you don't do it right, you're leaving a ton of money on the table. If you don't do sales training, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. And if you don't do the combination of sales training and implementation together, you're not going to get that 353% return on investment. Nothing changes until you change. So reach out, click the link below, and we look forward to hearing from you so that we can empower you to realize your full potential. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.